Hello everybody, it's Kevin Donka with Donka Drums, and I'm so honored and privileged to be here today to share a clinic with you that I'm calling Making the Rudiments Fun, or Having Fun with Rudiments. First of all, if you want to know how to reach me, you can search for me on Facebook, Donka Drums, Instagram, Donka Drums. You can email me at donkadrums@gmail.com. My name is D-O-N-K-A, donkadrums@gmail.com. And I have a store. Just Google Donka Drums Store and you'll find it, and you'll find how to reach me for lessons and my book, my favorite warm-ups and exercises. And I'm going to be referring to some things in the book today because it's really one of the best things for being able to learn how to have fun with the rudiments. Now, why do we need to learn the rudiments in the first place? This is a question I get all the time. And the answer is very simple. If you were a musician on any other instrument, you'd need to learn all the different notes in the scales, and you need to learn all the different scales, how the sharps and the flats go together, and you'd have to understand that in order to learn all of the pieces that you would want to play. Well, as a musician and a drummer, we don't have all of those different notes and scales. What we have are different stickings, and we call those our rudiments. They are the rudimentary foundation of being able to play everything that is put in front of you. So let's jump right in. There are 13 essential, 26 standard, 40 PAS, a literally unlimited number of hybrid and compound rudiments. So we want to learn them exactly the way that they are written first, but then we want to make them fun. So one of the first things you can do, and one of the most effective, is to learn all of the rudiments in this particular way. Number one, some rudiments alternate, right? Like paradiddles, they alternate. And some don't, like paradiddles. They all start on the same hand. So here's one of the first things you need to do. For all those rudiments that alternate, learn how to not alternate them, how to play them on the same hand. So paradiddles would be paradiddle, 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 or off the left. And learn how to play them non-alternating, both starting on the right and starting on the left. You won't believe how much different skill it takes to be able to do that. With the non-alternating rudiments, the ones that are always playing on the same hand, make sure you play those both starting on the right. Let's take paradiddles again. And on the left. And alternating. Paradiddle, diddle, paradiddle, diddle. Takes a whole different level of skill to be able to play those quick low notes into a high note. Now, we'll talk about that in just a minute a little bit more, but this is one of the best ways to gain control, is to learn how to play these this way. Now, some people would say, but yeah, why would I ever want to play a same-handed paradiddle? Well, here's the right hand of same-handed paradiddles. Can you think of a time when you might play a cymbal ride that way? Or if you swing it for jazz? What if you wanted to do that the opposite way? You see, practicing the rudiments same-handed, this gives you the opportunity to do that. Plus, if we take pataflaflas, here's the right hand of pataflaflas. Here's the right hand of inverted flam taps. So if you're having trouble with inverted flam taps, it's probably because you've got a mental block saying, oh, that's fast to go. It's hard to do those two low beats followed by a high beat. And you've got it in your mind that that's hard. But if you practice same-handed paradiddles, your mind says, oh, it's just paradiddles. I can play those. And for some reason, the mental block goes away, and you learn to teach your hands and your arms and your wrists the muscle memory that you need to be able to play IFTs. All right, so here's something else you can do. How about moving an accent to the different parts of the rudiment? Let's take a paradiddle again. I'm going to use paradiddle because I'm assuming with all the different levels of drummers that are on here, everybody at least knows a paradiddle. What if you were to move an accent from the first partial to the second to the third to the fourth, like paradiddle, 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 tap. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, there are lots of different kinds of strokes that we have in drumming, right? We have a regular rebound stroke where we let that stick bounce all the way back up. We have what we call a downstroke, where you stop the stick close to the head, right in playing position. And that's so that if you have to play an accent, your stick is down and ready to play a low note after that accent. We also have what we call a controlled bounce or a controlled stroke, where you do stop the stick, but you stop it a little higher up. Let's say you're playing 16th notes here. You don't want to stop your stick down here and then have to lift it up to play your next beat. You want to take it and stop it at 3 inches. So we have a rebound stroke, we have a downstroke, we have a controlled bounce stroke, and we have an upstroke where you hit and you lift. So you're doing a low note into an accent. Well, when you're practicing moving an accent around paradiddles, if you put the accent on a third partial, you practice that controlled bounce followed by a low stroke. See? You got to get it fast. Most of the time when I ask a kid to play the accent on the third partial, they accent the whole diddle. What if you did this? So you get that control. Now on the fourth partial, you're going to practice that upstroke. You pick that stick up real fast, and then you do an accent. So this is really valuable, just moving accents around. You can move one accent, you can move 2 accents. In fact, in my book, I have an exercise called Shift Happens, because you're shifting one accent through the paradiddle, then you're shifting 2 accents, and then in the advanced version, you're actually going to flam those accents too. So I want to play that for you. Let's do it at about maybe 100 beats a minute. That's a little too fast for most people to follow. Yeah, we will do, let's do 90 beats a minute. So I'm going to do 4 counts each of paradiddles. First on the first partial, second partial, third partial, fourth partial. And then I'm going to do 2 accents. First and second, second and third, third and fourth, first and fourth, first and third, second and fourth. And I'm going to repeat the whole thing, and I'm going to add flams to it. And so this is called Shift Happens. Not 2 accents. It's always playing paradiddles. Now the first and third. Now the second and fourth. Now again with flams. Whoops. Now double. First and third, second and fourth. That's a lot harder than it looks. And then you can do it with 3 accents as well, and with all accents. So you see, shifting an accent, shifting a flam, these are all really good ways to do that. You can also shift the flam and the accent separately. So I have another exercise in my book called the double grid flam accent. Now, this is one that is extraordinarily beneficial. First, we're going to take it in 3 parts. The first part is playing flam accents. So you've got a flam and 2 strokes in triplets. And we're going to accent the first 4. We'll accent the first partial, then we do the second partial, then we do the third partial, but we always leave the flam on that first partial. Here we go. And again, when you're moving that accent to the second partial, you've got an upstroke. When it's on the third, you've got a downstroke followed by a low stroke, which is really good for doing low notes after flams. So you got all the way down for the grace note. So let's play that all the way through. Here we go. If you've never tried that, it's really pretty hard. So now, the second part of the exercise, we do that same exact accent pattern, but we move the flam only to the second partial. So here we go. And the third time through, you probably guessed, we put the flam on the third partial, same accent pattern. So I'm going to play the whole thing, all three parts. Here we go. Now second. And a third. Of course, you can complicate this as much as you want, adding cheeses, adding flam drags, adding flam fives. So another thing that you can do is actually change the sticking of the rudiment. So let's take something like a paradiddle. We've got two single strokes followed by a double stroke, or what we call a diddle. Now, what if you were to move that diddle, put it on the first two partials, and then the second and third, then the third and the fourth, then the first and the fourth? This is an exercise in my book called STD1, and STD does not stand for sexually transmitted disease. It stands for shift the diddle. So you can do this with paradiddles, you can do it with double paradiddles. So let me show you with paradiddles. Diddle, paradiddle, paradiddle, diddle, diddle, diddle. Now it's on the paradiddle word, third and fourth, now the first and fourth. Now you can do it with no accents, you can do it with accents. Or you can do it keeping the accent on one. Okay, so that's how you can change the actual sticking. Now, you can also add a flam on that diddle and do the same thing. No accents, accent the flam diddle, accent only one. I like to do it with double paradiddles. Okay, so if we do double paradiddle, double paradiddle, double, but we're moving that diddle. Third and fourth. Now regular double paradiddles. And then the last and the first. Okay, then you can, like I said, you can add flams. You can, I'll do it with flams, keeping the accent on one. One, let's see. 1, 2, ready, go. Okay, before I forget, this drum pad I'm using is from Rudimental Drummers. It's RD pads, and it's their drum corps pad, and it has a real Evans drum head on it. They come in lots of different styles, depending on what you need: concert need, field drum, high tension. They have a smaller one for travel, but this is a wonderful drum pad. It's decently priced, it's really well made, and the company is great. It's not like these other companies that take forever to get you your pad. So anyway, I know a lot of people are going to ask about that, so I wanted to cover that. All right, so one of the other things that we can do is adding drags, adding 5-stroke rolls, adding flams, adding all kinds of things like that. So if we take regular paradiddles, let's go back down to about 120. add a drag on 1, add a drag on 2, add a drag on 4, add a drag on 1 and 2, 1 and 4, 2 and 4, 1, 2 and 4. I mean, you can add things all over the place. I know I'm kind of going fast. I don't want to run out of time. I've got some other things I want to get to. But adding flams, adding cheeses, adding flam drags. There's an exercise called the Big Three, where you take flam accents and you add a cheese, then you add a flam drag, then you add a flam 5. So it goes like this. Cheese, flam drag, flam 5. Now, what if you did that and moved the accent on each of those? So you do flam accent, move the accent. Now the cheese. Now the flam drags. And flam 5s. As I said, the possibilities are endless, but every time that you do this, not only do you make the rudiment more fun, you massively develop your chops. Okay, so there's another thing that I like to call rudonyms. I believe I made up that word, but it doesn't really matter. But a rudonym is like a homonym. In our English language, we have words that sound exactly the same, but they're spelled differently and have different meanings. So a rudonym is two different stickings that sound the same. Now, some just naturally occur, like flam accents and Swiss triplets, or Swiss Army triplets. They sound the same. But what you can do is you can actually change stickings to make them sound like a particular rudiment. So if we take something like paradiddles, which is 4 16th notes with a flam and an accent on the first and fourth partial. What other sticking could we do? We could take a flam mill sticking, which is right, right, left, right, left, left, right, left, and put the flams and the accents like a paradiddle. We could do an inverted paradiddle sticking, right? So tap, diddle, tap. And we could put the flams and the accents on the first and fourth like a paradiddle. I love playing those. I used to call those Kevy Fla-Flas because I didn't know anybody else had played them. But I don't like putting my name on that, so I changed it to middle diddle Fla-Flas. Those are cool. You can do paradiddle sticking and do Fla-Flas. Paradiddle, paradiddle. First you got to learn how to play the double accent paradiddle. Then add the flams. Those are really hard to play. Okay, so now there's a couple other things that we need to get to. Number one, you need to vary your tempo. It takes different techniques to play things at different speed. If I'm playing, I have an exercise in my book called slow fast singles. It goes. Now you play it twice as fast. So you notice when I'm playing slow, I'm holding the sticks, I'm playing every beat with my wrist. When I play the fast version, it's all fingers. So you want to practice slow, you want to practice fast because they take different techniques, but you also want to practice moving from slow to fast and back to slow, what we used to call open to close to open, because as you move from one style and technique to the other, playing slow to fast to slow, you have what we call T-zones, and T stands for transition. Transition zones where you're moving from fingers to fingers and wrist, to fingers, wrist, and arm, to just wrist and arm, to just arm and fingers. And you need to be able to play all of those different things. And your T-zones need to be smooth. They need to be seamless. It's like a singer. A singer goes from their full voice to their falsetto and back down to their full voice. And the best ones have that seamless transition where they've learned how to shift their voice from one way to another, and you can't tell they've done it. And we need to be able to drum that way too. So practice all varying tempos. The other thing is practice different heights and different volumes, because just like you use different different technique to play this compared to this, you also use different muscles, playing a roll here, playing a roll here, playing a roll here, here, and here. No matter what you're playing, you use different muscles. So if we just take 16th notes, I'll go down to 120. If we take 16th notes and play them at 1 inch, 3 inches, 4 inches, 6 inches, 9 inches, 12 inches, 15 inches. We use all different muscles all through there. So not only do you have to practice different speeds, you have to practice different heights, different volumes, and this is going to really help you build those chops. Now, another thing that you can do is moving the rudiments around the drum kit. For example, if you do 6-stroke rolls, you can play the accents on different toms. You can play drags. You can move them around the drum kit. Steve Gadd likes to play, Steve Gadd on many different songs, he plays rudiments and moves them around the drum. He even incorporates his feet into those. So bass drum for the tap, boom. You can play 6-stroke rolls and involve your feet. So this has application. All of this has application. Now, another thing you can do is string rudiments together. There's an exercise, 2 exercises in my book that do this really well. One is called the DC flam grid, where you take flamadiddles, flam taps, pataflaflas, and inverted flam taps. And you string those together in different counts. The one called Anaheim has Swiss triplets and flamadiddles and pataflaflas. Now you move the accent and same-handed flamadiddles. So that exercise called Anaheim really puts together a lot of the stuff that we've talked about. Now, I've got just a few more minutes, and I want to take it to talk to you about why it's not only important to get your rudiments down, but why it matters as far as the music goes. First of all, one of the things that you need to remember is that this is not just beats. This is actually music. It's our drum music. And so you should go ahead and find songs and play rudiments to your songs, play exercises to your songs. One of my favorite pieces is called Flamnambulous. If you haven't seen it, just Google Flamnambulous and get that sheet music. But it's a very hard flam piece, and depending on which song you play it with, it has a completely different feel. So I like to play Flamnambulous to a song called Plane by the band 311 or 311. I don't know how you say it. But also, I like to play Flamnambulous to Tower of Power's song, What is Hip? And I like to play it to Aerosmith, Walk This Way. And when I play that exercise, even though it's the same exact beats, it has a completely different feel depending on what song I'm playing it with. And sometimes I might swing the beats, sometimes I play them straight, but it's really important to be able to get those different feels. Now, here's the last thing. We have to remember that the drummer is responsible for creating the groove. The whole rhythm section is, yes, but the drummer specifically is really charged with creating the groove. Now, here's what I want to say. There's no such thing as simply practicing. I want to tell you that. There's either practicing with an audience or there's practicing without an audience, but you should always play as if you're performing. So it's performing with an audience or performing without an audience. If you don't practice the way that you need to perform, you'll never be able to perform the way that you want to. Now, why is it important to learn all these rudiments? Because as long as you're thinking about what you're playing, as long as you have to think, oh, I have to do a downstroke here, or I'm playing a paradiddle here, or a rudiment here, or this kind of jazz ride pattern here, as long as you're thinking about it, you're in your head. You're not in your heart. It's hard to get a groove going in your head if it's not also in your heart. And here's the most important thing to remember. If your drumming can't make you groove, there's no way it's going to make the audience groove. If your music can't move you, it's not going to move your audience. So practice these ad nauseum. I got to tell you, I've played moving the accent on paradiddle so much, I don't even have to think about it. I can have a conversation with somebody because my hands just know what to do. And if you practice a piece over and over and over and over again until it gets to the point where you can just play it, you don't even have to think about it. You've played it so many times that you just know it. Now you don't think about the piece anymore. Now you think about the groove that it makes. And you can play it at all different speeds and all different tempos. That one I just played, it's got a cool groove there. What if I slow it down? It's got a whole different feel. But the thing is, I've got the sticking down and the rudiments down so completely that all I have to do is groove. All I have to do is groove. Just feel that groove, feel that music. And I can tell you this, one of the things that a lot of people say about when they watch me is, man, I could really feel your passion in that playing. That's because I'm not thinking about the beats. I'm not thinking about what my hands have to do. I'm in my heart, not my head. It's music. It's music. Okay, so the last thing I want to say in my last couple of minutes here is, if someone can play something, if someone has ever played it, that means that you too can play it. If someone has played it, I can play it. That's what you say to yourself. If you don't say you don't say I can't play that. First of all, if you ever find yourself saying I can't, make sure you add the word yet. I can't play that yet. That means it is coming, you just aren't quite there. But remember, if someone can play it, you can play it. You just need a couple of things. Number one, you need the amount of time to build the muscle memory to be able to play it. Number two, you need the discipline during that time to be able to work on the parts of how you do it. Maybe you're learning paradiddles and you're learning one hand at a time. Or maybe you're learning the front half of the rudiment first, and then the back half, and then you put them together. Maybe you're learning a hybrid rudiment like book reports, so you learn paradiddles, and then you learn choo-choos, and then you learn stutter diddles, and then these, whatever they're called, and then book reports. You see, a lot of people come up and they want to play these advanced rudiments, but they can't move an accent through a paradiddle. Learn the different parts, okay? So time and discipline, patience. Patience is really, really important. Being patient with yourself, feeling a groove all the way through, knowing that you're not playing it perfectly yet, but the more that you practice and the more that you spend time and have discipline and patience, the more you'll get to it. And the last thing you need is the proper instruction. So make sure that you get a teacher that knows what they're doing. Make sure that you watch videos of people that show you different ways to do things. All teachers teach in different ways. Have multiple teachers through YouTube, through Facebook, through Instagram, through TikTok, through whatever you do. Go to different clinics. Watch these kinds of multi-artist clinics that show you different ways to do the same thing. So time, discipline, patience, and the right instruction will help you to say, if somebody can play it, I can play it. So again, if you want to reach me, donkadrums@gmail.com. I'm on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok as Donka Drums. If you are interested in getting my book or taking lessons, just Google Donka Drums Store. It should be the first thing that comes up, and I will be available to help anybody that wants any help in any way. So again, it's been an honor and a privilege to do this clinic for you, and I thank those that are putting on the clinic. This is so valuable to have all these artists doing these things. And until we meet again, happy drumming.